One of the biggest problems in our court system, and this is reflected and affecting lakhs of people across the country, is the number of days it actually takes to get a proper hearing. And of course, the larger problem is the number of times or hearings it takes to eventually get a resolution in so many cases. A large number of problems with pending cases has to do with the number of days the courts actually work in this country, and therefore a question needs to be asked. Should there be, for example, fewer court holidays? Should there be court holidays at all? Well, somebody who has brought up this issue and is a senior Supreme Court advocate himself is Mr. Tankha, Mr. Vivek Tankha, who's also an MP. Thanks very much, Mr. Tankha, for being with us. Let's take a look at a couple of statistics, and I think it's really important that you raise this issue. The average number of days in the Supreme Court, working days, has actually come down from 224 to 202. What is this a part of?
So actually, we are very worried that when the law minister tells the parliament that in all the courts together in India, roughly 5 crore cases are pending.
Yeah.
Now, it shows that the system is crumbling. It's not failed, it's crumbling. And as a public representative, we can't be mute spectators to what's happening. So it was a suggestion which came impromptu that, one way to start a reform, and many reforms would be needed, one way to reform is to increase our working days. And a logic that I try to give is, court is like a sovereign. Courts cannot go on vacations. Court cannot be on vacation. There should be continuity of court. Judges can go on vacations. Lawyers can have vacations. Judges, you can give them 30 days, 20 days, whatever you feel is correct, and they can spread it the way they want it in the entire year. But the court should be meeting every day because there are people who have to be paid.
No, but you raise an important point. Where is this entire issue of court holidays originated? Is this something which started in colonial times? How does an entire institution say we are all going on holiday?
No. It started because 100 years back when all this the court system came into existence. Mostly they were British judges, English judges. And for the holidays, they needed to go home. And those days you had to take a ship to reach England. So I'm sure it had to be a long holiday also.
And scores of judges have benefited from this in our system, and that carries on. At what cost? It's incredible.
And like jokingly, today the only two institutions where you have holidays are schools and courts. So that is how people joke today. Yeah. So what I am saying is why judges need rest, judges need respite, but you don't close the institution. The institution should run every day except on national holidays and weekends, of course, because it's a 5-day week. And in addition, you offer the number of days that the judges need for resting or for other things in life which they have to do. So whether it's a holiday or there are marriages or there are social functions, the problem that we face in court is that when you close the courts for vacations, the whole system stops. There are no hearings then except maybe vacation hearings, which is for urgent matters. Now, I think a court is a sovereign. Sovereign cannot go on a vacation.
Right.
It's a sovereign institution. Judges can go on vacations. Lawyers can have vacations. So we can enjoy our vacations while the sovereign keeps working. So it's a food for thought. It's a suggestion to the judiciary also and to the lawmakers that think of out-of-box ideas to reform your system. If you don't do it, how are you going to meet the plight of those 5 crore litigants?
In fact, let me just put this number in a little, and we'll have a graphic come up later on. But as of the 1st of December 2022, in the Supreme Court, there are 69,598 cases pending, and in high courts across India, 59,56,251. It's a cliche, but it's so true in this case. Justice delayed is justice denied. And so many people suffer.
Courts.
And there are people who are incarcerated, perhaps for no fault of their own, who need to get out, and they need their day in court. So, it affects India at all levels. It affects at one level the liberty of individuals. Because justice is liberty.
Just 2 points there. So, you've not given the figures of the district courts, which is 3 crore plus. One. And number two, this is a public sentiment that I'm expressing. It's not Vivek Tankha. You talk to people across India. What I'm saying is a public sentiment that judiciary needs huge reforms, and this is a reform which can start within. And there will be other reforms which need to follow. Otherwise, we are standing on an edifice which is falling.
So now there has been a series of questions or queries on this which have been raised in Parliament, and there is an answer which has been provided. For example, the government says that they are placing an emphasis on alternate dispute resolution. There are initiatives to fast-track special types of cases. These are just two of the steps which they have announced: filling up of vacant positions in the Supreme Court and subordinate courts, leveraging information and communication technology, etc. Do you believe that any of these are viable?
I was part of all the discussions that were taking place in Parliament, whether it was the Arbitration Act or a mediation bill, which is now to come before the Parliament soon. Of course, all these steps are important and necessary because you are trying to take cases before different forums so that the pressure becomes less. But today the situation is in the lower courts is 3.5 crore cases. In High Court it is 70 lakh cases. And in Supreme Court, it is 70,000 cases. Now, by any logic or by any belief, do you think anything can happen overnight or in the next 1 or 2 years, even if all these steps which we've discussed come into effect? Even they will have their own issues. Right. Because once you have mediation, then you'll have to have a separate infrastructure for mediation we don't have. Right. You need a cadre of mediators, I know, which we don't have. So, as I said, it's a long haul, and judiciary needs to think fast. The government needs to think fast. The people's hopes and aspirations are falling very fast, and people, you can't keep people waiting for years and years and years, and they don't get justice because then the system is not serving the purpose for which it is established.
But sir, this is just one part of the problem. The largest part of the problem now, of course, is the nomination of judges into the Supreme Court, for example, and also into the High Courts, and there is a battle of sorts between the government and the judiciary. How much is that a problem? The other way of looking at it is that it's one thing to say there shouldn't be court holidays, but if we have more judges, then, more cases will be heard.
No, that is one issue where the government and the judiciary don't seem to be agreeing in toto. Right after it was NJC Act that was struck down. And our views on that is not fully with the judiciary, nor it is fully with the government, because we have also realized that collegium system has not served the purpose for which it was put into effect. Right. And we also realized that too much of government interference, executive interference is also bad for the justice delivery system, because we don't want judges coming from with a point of view. Because if you want an independent judiciary, a neutral judiciary, what you need is an independent commission to appoint judges. But as I said, it's a long story, it's a long haul. I said that in Parliament, Prime Minister was sitting there, that this needs to be discussed in Parliament in extenso someday. But a shorter solution is if we can increase our working days from, say, 200 to 300, it would make a difference.
Sure.
And if the whole gamut of people working today are available for working those 100 extra days or 50 extra days, you see that there will be a change.
Sure, I take that point, sir, that, if there are more people, the holidays are reduced, then perhaps that situation would get better. Fantastic suggestions, though, but let's see how long it takes.
It's a suggestion. It's a suggestion, but I can tell you, Shom, this suggestion carries a lot of public sentiment. And someday the judiciary will have to look at it seriously, because it is for their own credibility that I'm saying these things.
Right. Sir, leave it at that. Thanks very much for being with us.